Hey guys, we're doing wheel bearings on a 94 Ranger, rear wheel drive. So our wheel bearings are built in to the rotors. We're gonna take a little, we got the brakes apart, right? Got another video on that, on doing brakes on these. If you need help getting those off, we're gonna take a little screwdriver and try to get this dust cover off. It's on there pretty good. We'll grab some big vice grips. Just kind of chomp right onto this. These wheel bearings are so loose that it's just wobbling all over the place with me. There we go. Now steam off of there. We've got a cotter key right here. Got a little screwdriver. Bend the little arms of these out. And it is all kinds of wavy. This cotter key. I don't know if it'll pull right out of there or not. What we got here? Something to grab onto this cotter key with and start working it upwards. Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere, guys. It's always good to have extra cotter keys laying around, which I do. Got a whole bucket of them. I think I just want to cut this one off. There we go. Come on, buddy. Now she's out of there. Take our little cover off, set it down. Now we got our nut here. All right, this is coming off pretty much by hand with my fingers. I got a 1 16th socket here. I think that's the right size, pretty close to it. We'll have a washer behind that. We have to grab, you can pull the rotor forward now so you can grab your inner bearing and your washer out of there. Grab this. There's not even a seal on the back of this rotor. There's supposed to be. There's not. Now we got our inner bearing, which is jammed right on there. It's not supposed to be. The last person to do these wheel bearings did something wrong. That's for sure. Over torqued it. I don't know. This bearing was wobbling all over. So grab that brake pad off of there. Grab some more shop towels. Yep. So what I'm gonna do, I mean, we can use a puller and get pretty close to that. That race is jammed on there. I can either cut it off or get an air chisel behind here, and I'd have to be really careful if I did that to get the race out. Yeah, it's just supposed to fall off. It's not supposed to be like this. You won't see this very often. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get my get my air cutter and cut through this first layer of bearing and see what we got on that race. Oh, I mean, the inner race of the bearing, not the race on the rotor, right? Yeah, it's jammed on there, not supposed to be. Let me start getting this off. Alright, I've decided to grab my air chisel with my flat bit. I'm gonna go like this. Woo! And she just shattered. What that did, that actually pulled this race out a little bit for us. Gave us a little gap, which is excellent. Phew! And that shot off without gouging my spindle. Sweet. Didn't have to do no cutting or anything. You want to clean this up nice and good. Check out the spindle for wear. Yeah, and this has some wear right where that bearing was. That's not cool. But it'll do. Get that all nice cleaned up good. Where that new seal is gonna ride. Now we're ready to start getting the old races out of the rotor. So we got the rotor right here, and these are the old races. You can see the marks on this race. So I'm going to start off with getting that inner race out. I'm going to use my air chisel to do that too. It's just going to make it a whole lot easier. Let's see if we can get an angle on this while I work on it on the ground. There's a little bit of an angle. And let's see what we can do here. You don't want to hurt the rotor at all. Just get on the lip of the race. You can use like a screwdriver and hammer if you don't have like air chisels and stuff. Oh yeah, she's coming. And she's out. There we go. That race is out of there. We gotta flip it over. We'll get a little cardboard box or something to put this on. We don't want to hurt the surface of our rotor. Flip her over. You gotta be careful not to hurt the rotor. And just get that race out. Yep, she's coming. Coming out pretty easy. Just a little tap. Little tap. Work it side to side. I hit the point where I'm not long enough on my air chisel. time to grab a longer one. Probably tap it out with a screwdriver at this point. Here we go, I got a longer one. Just trying not to score the edges of the rotor where the new race is going to go. I just get right on the corner of the race. It hit a spot where it just doesn't want to go anymore. Came down quite a bit, and now it's just not moving. Take a look inside there. Oh yeah, I jammed it by going on a certain angle too much, so I see that I gotta work this side now. There we go. I worked the right side and it popped right out. There's our big race on the back there, the inner race. And that's out. We'll clean all the old grease out of here, and then we'll work on getting our new races in. Grab some shop towels. Clean some of that grease out. And we'll put a little grease on these races. Help them punch in there easier. Grease it up. Find something that's the exact same size as this. There we go, we got a socket. Make sure you put that race in the right way, the way the old one came out. Make sure our socket's nice and clean. Get her started in there straight. It's going in easily. When you hear that sound, that means you're bottomed out. And she's in there. Clean this side up a little bit. Check for wear. Got our new inner race right here. Make sure she's nice and clean. Put a little grease in there. Help it press in. A little grease on the race. Let's find something the right size to put this guy in with. I got a little race and seal installer kit. I'm not going to put it together or anything, but I'm going to steal a cone out of it. It's the right size. Get that started flush. Make sure you're checking it so that it's going in straight. And you can even use the old race because it's the exact same diameter with like a chunk of wood or something on it to help you get her in. You want to make sure you can't get your fingernail in between that. Looks like she's all flushed up in there now. There we go, that's how you install the new races if you're not replacing the rotor. If you buy a new rotor, it comes with new races. Always a good time. Alright guys, we got our bearings in. We got our inner and outer bearing and our seal. So we are going to grease the bearings. We'll start off with the inner bearing. This is a bearing packer here. You don't need one, but I've got one, so we'll use it. You can pack the bearings. If you don't have a packer or anything, just put grease on the palm of your hand and slam the bearing like that. Work the grease into it. The bearings are spinning as you're hitting it into the grease. Works pretty good. But we're just going to use a grease packer. Press down. The way the grease goes all the way through the bearing. Grab some of this extra grease off of here and put it on that race. Trying to get some inside there. Pack it around the edges, get it down in there. Boom. whole box of shop towels here. Now we got our dust seal here. We'll put that right on there. I just got a socket that's the same size pretty much. Trying not to warp the seal. I'm going kind of fast. The socket is actually a little small. A little too small. Alright, so we got the seal on, inner bearings in there. We'll flip her over. We get our inner bearing pressed in with some grease here. Get some extra grease out of there and do the same deal. Alright, and there we are. On to the next step. Alright, here's our spindle here. Put a little grease on it, just a little coat. Grab up our rotor. I'm holding the outer bearing on with my thumb, and there we go. Got her on there. It's going to want to slide off, but just make sure it doesn't fall off. Pack some grease in right here on the front. We got our washer. Gotta find the flat spots. Now I have to clean this off with my rag. Get a little dirt on it. There we go. All right, flat spots. There we go. We got to something's not right with this. It's not going all the way back as far as it should. We'll get that figured out in a second. We're gonna clean our rotor off nice and good. Yeah, there might be something wrong with the spindle, and that's why the last one was on so tight. So let me check that out. Alright, we got our rotor on there, and it's completely seated on the back there. This time I had to polish up that spindle with my Dremel tool. The last person who did this job didn't do it right and gouged her up pretty good. So I had to take those gouges he put on there and fix them. Polished them up good. Now we put our inner bearing in, or outer bearing. Go. Wash up. Bada boom. Now we got our nut. Little snag there. Now you never know what you're gonna run into, you know what I'm saying? Let's turn this heat off. Alright, now we need our socket. Make sure it's nice and clean. Get this crud off of it. Alright, there's gonna be a torque spec on this. You're going to spin the wheel while tightening to seat the bearing. Spin and tighten. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe like 16 to 22 foot-pounds, something like that. You're going to want to check that torque spec. You don't want to crush your bearing, so you don't want to seat the bearing with too much pressure. There we go. Bearing should be seated. And we back this nut off now, so that's loose. Tighten it about hand tight. Then it's going to be some sort of inch poundage here. Make sure it feels smooth spinning. It's usually like a quarter turn or something like that after you back it off and get it finger tight. I'll check the specs here in a second. It feels pretty good right there. Let me see if I got my little book here of torque specs. See if we can find 94 Ranger here. Ford trucks. Ranger. Alright, it's just giving me 4-wheel drive in this booklet. This is hub assembly axle torque. I'll check out that torque spec for sure later. And then we got, so if we got that torque spec right, what we're gonna do is put this little cap back on, put a cotter key through, and then our wheel bearings are done. And I'm trying to remember what it's gonna be, you know, like, oh, say like 14 to 22 foot-pounds while spinning. Back it off, tighten it finger tight, and then a quarter turn. But you shouldn't have any slop in the wheel bearing when you get that tightened. I could just feel it. I've done them so many times. Now we need a cotter key. Got a little tray of cotter keys. Find one that's about the right size. Pop it through there. Bend her over in a way it doesn't get in the way of the dust cap. Make sure your dust cap is free of crud inside there. Take a little more grease just for good measure. We'll pop that guy on. Now we got to clean the brake rotor off with brake cleaner. Any grease we got on it, we got a little bit there, a little bit on the inside. And we'll put the brakes back together. Right next to this video on my playlist should be how to do the brakes on this, if you need to know how to take them apart and put them together. And that should do it, guys. That's how you install the wheel bearings.